In this tutorial we're going to discuss how to design a frame, and what we're looking at is the Shell Designer, which is the default designer window when you fire the software up, and we're going to go over to the frame designer and press reset. Now you'll probably want to drop some wheels on here, so if you want to drop some wheels, pick out the sizes you like and left click one of these widgets up here. In this case we've clicked the wheel and we're going to drop it on the screen, and we're dropping down a 26-inch wheel. We don't want 26, so I still have this wheel selected. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop another wheel down here. You notice that if I click the different wheels I'm left clicking, I switch between what I have selected. Once I have what it is I want selected, I'm pressing the delete key on the keyboard and clearing it out. I want to make a tadpole here, so I'm going to pick out a 20-inch wheel for the front. I'm going to drop it on the screen. I could drop two on the screen. It's really no problem. Let's just do a second one. But let's talk about how you know where to put these things. There's a lot of ways you could do this, and perhaps some of you are really good at putting things in three-dimensional space, but probably most people only have a rudimentary knowledge of how to do that. One fairly easy way to come up with the measurements you'll want to know to be able to place these parts on the screen would be perhaps to go to your garage door and park up against the garage door, with this being the garage door and this being the garage floor, and park straight away from it. And you can measure straight from the garage door out to get your X measurement, and measure from the garage floor up to get your Y measurement. So I'm dropping one of the front wheels in here, and I'm going to, just to demonstrate what will happen if you drop two on top of each other, I'm going to drop a second one right on top of each other, but I want them spread apart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the top view, and I'm going to click, and I've got the second wheel selected here. It doesn't really matter where I put one and where I put the other, but I'm going to put this over, I don't know how far apart these typically are, but I'm going to put these over a foot apart. And I'm going to go back to the side view, and you can't really tell any difference, but obviously there is a difference. Now I'm going to put a rear wheel on, and I'm going to put a 700C rear wheel, and I'll pick the size out first, left click the widget and drop it on the screen. And I don't know how long these things really run, but I'm going to make a 7-foot long one. And now I'm going to drop a crank on the screen. I know these go out in front a little ways somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where they would be here, but I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to drop a seat in for reference, just to let me see something. And then I'm also going to drop in some tubing. Now tubing has some special characteristics about it. It's things you can't do to anything else. If you have the tubing out here, and I'm going to drop a piece of tubing on here, and you use your mouse wheel, you can lengthen or shorten it. You can also get to that if that doesn't work, hold down the control key and do it. And I'm going to hold down the shift key in the left mouse wheel and change the diameter of the tubing. So I'm going to pick out, I'm watching up here, I'm going to pick out 1-inch tubing, and I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to hold down the right mouse button and spin it. Now what it's doing is spinning about the center of this, where this pipe's dropped. If I get close, it spins pretty quick with very little mouse movement. If I get pretty far away, I can get some pretty fine resolution on the spin. So I'm holding down my left mouse. Don't have to be anywhere close to it. I've got this tubing selected, which is named 6 frame. And as long as I've got it selected and I hold down my left mouse and move, I move the pipe. Now I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to shove it up here to hold my crank. I'm going to make it longer. I'm going to stop right there. Now I'm going to put me in a red pipe. I select the color first, then drop the pipe on there, spin it around. I'm just going to stick with the 1.44 tubing, which probably wouldn't be at all uncommon for bent. And drop another one on here. Spin that out with my mouse wheel. Drop it on. That's too long. Leave a little bit of adjustment for my seat. And I'll drop another red on here. By the way, every one of these colors is a little bit different color, because I need to separate them by a slight difference so I can tell what it is you clicked on. I use the colors. For those of you who are coders, I use some unmanaged code. I use the Windows API. And now I'm going to put some stays on here, and we'll make some, pick color, pick the pipe, and I will skinny this pipe if these down to 1-inch stays. And I'm not exactly sure where that would come out. Just playing around until I get it to look something like what I think these look like. Holding down the shift key to make a smaller diameter, and I'll place it over here. Now I'm going to go to the top view for those who like to be technical, and some people will really want to go into detail on this because they're intending on closing the entire frame. For my personal use, it's not particularly a concern, but you can go out here. Now I'm holding down my right mouse button and right click and drag to rotate. I'm just playing around until I get it to where it would be about right. I'm going to put the other one over here. About the same. I'm just right click and drag to rotate. Let's go back to the side view and look at it. Yeah, it looks like it still lines up pretty good. And of course you can do the same thing for the other side, and we'll just go ahead and demonstrate that. And let's see, let's make it fairly long and fairly skinny. Go to the top view. We'll take that one and drag it over here. And go back to the side view. You may have to go back and forth. I should have done this first, but you know, it's good to see me make mistakes because you know it's not serious. Just keep going until you get it right. And it looks actually came out pretty good. So I'm going to go back to the side view. And I'm not sure, I haven't really tested it very much working from the top view. The top view is more of a checker, so you know you may find some bugs there. Just let me know what they are and we'll see if we can get them fixed. A little bit longer, rotate it some, and that should be pretty close and in place. And go back to the top view and spin it out, drag it out, and now we've got a full set of stays for our rear wheel of our recumbent. Of course you would want to have a steering tube on this thing. So I'm going to shorten it up and fatten it up a little. And we'll plug it in about, I'll just put this by here, but we would plug it in about right here. And then we would also pick out some fork tubes. Those would be smaller. Give you an approximation there. And we'll go to the top view and we'll want our fork tubes probably on the, oh well, that wouldn't really apply very well for an axle recumbent, so I'm just going to go back to the side view. I was thinking of a single wheel, and I'll just highlight that 16 frame and press delete, highlight that, press delete. There would be some kind of steering mechanism there, but I'm really not too familiar with what. I think they actually have a regular car front end. I'm not sure what you call that, an A-arm type suspension and front end on most of those. But anyway, there are some parts of the bike. Of all things here, this is the only part that's required to get the kinematics. I actually hook you to the pedal. I'm going to select that crank, and here we hold down our, I'm scrolling the middle mouse wheel to change my crank length. And I know you guys run some shorter cranks, so I'm going to set that for 6. And I'm going to go to File. I'm going to save this as. You could just click Save and it would overwrite your default long wheelbase frame. It's actually, you have a full copy in your application folder, but this is being put in the user's application data directory, which is where Microsoft recommends you put all such files for all applications. And so whatever you write here will just overwrite your local copy, and the permanent copy that's in your application folder, which could be erased too, is still intact. So if you ever have trouble, all you have to do really actually is delete your application directory, application data directory, and I'm going to show you where that's at. I'm going to go to Windows. I'm going to open Windows Explorer here, and make it where it fits on our screen. In the Windows application, or Windows Explorer, I'm going to type in %appdata, and this is different for each user. For me, I'm Wayne, so it goes to Wayne. And you'll find an HPV. You'll find under App Data Roaming. You'll find HPV Design. If you go in here, here's a bunch of stuff. And let's go back to the designer. But if you wanted to get your default files, you could just delete that. Now once you've started designing stuff, you wouldn't want to delete it, because this is where you're saving all your good copies. So, but if you ever want to send one of these to someone else, what you would want to do is take a look at, we're working right now with the default long wheelbase frame, rider, and shell. See all the 4 files here that says default _ long wheelbase? They happen to all be named the same. They could all be named something different, but that's all the files that it takes to define this. And there's one more thing it takes, and that would be the default long wheelbase bitmaps. So this folder, and these 4 files would comprise an entire project. And I'm sorry for all that convolution, but we really have several applications balled into one here, not just one application. Shell Designer or Rider Designer, these are all, if you go out there and get stuff to do this, you'd probably find most of them either come in either a very robust application, something like AutoCAD or Autodesk, whatever it's called nowadays, and or else just something like I have the Make Human project downloaded to design bodies, which is one entire program just to design bodies, and you could use probably just about anything to design the frame. I mean, it couldn't be a paint because you have to have a 3D, but anything that would allow you to design in 3D would design the frame. It probably wouldn't do all these other things. It wouldn't do the shell, wouldn't do the rider, and the frame all in one package. So anyway, I faced with that dilemma of how I wrap a project in here. I kind of use Microsoft's guide for that, and it takes a while to get used to how they do all their files too, so it might take you a little while, and apologies, but it's tough. Anyway, back to the frame designer here. Now once we've got that, we're going to go save it. I'm going to File, save my old file name as demo1, and it's going to give it a default suffix of .frame, and click Save. And now if I want to, I could save my default long wheelbase project, and it would save everything that I have, all files. But I'm going to go over here and rename the project immediately. Save project as demo1 project. And now when I click Save, it saves everything. And let's go over to Designer, and you see that nothing looks like it's any different over here. We still have a single wheel. Well, the reason was, back on the Frame Designer, to get it to go to the Shell Designer, you have to export it. So it leaves, when you do that, it takes all the data that's here and ports it over to the Shell Designer. So let's go back to the Shell Designer. And now we see a 3-wheel device here. And we're just a little bit far away to reach, it looks like. So a couple things about this. Even though on the Rider Designer it looks like he's, well, probably looks about where he is, he is too far away, but I'm just going to click on his pelvis and shift his pelvis over here. We're not really doing the rider here, but I'm going to shift him over here, and he's still too far away. I can see that I'm going to have to get him up to about here to be able to reach those pedals. But to get him to show up over there, I've got to export, and I'm going to go back to the Shell Designer. And now we've got our Tadpole Designer up on the front of this thing. And save all. And that's how you that's basically how you do a frame. Next lesson will be on how to do a rider.